Anthony Fantano here. Just kidding. But hey, what about music? You want to feel like you're not dying all the time? Like maybe there's still something in the world for you? Have you considered checking out new music organically? I mean, like not allowing an algorithm to funnel you around through that which has been bought and paid for, or generated from AI to forego payment altogether. It seems perhaps tricky for people to get away from that algorithm and back to more organic curation, but maybe I can help you through the magic of my own curation. And maybe I can even direct you toward some other better sources of curation than the algorithm. Because I got my methods, so stick around as we explore 5 really solid records you might have missed in 2025. I'm also going to do little in-betweeners on other related artists you can check out, so maybe 9 or 10 new things you can get in on here. Let us get back to the before times, when you did not have an algorithm and your choices were of your own volition. Okay, before I start exploring these records, let's get it straight. If you're here to learn some new tunes, then you're in the right spot, but certainly not the only spot. There are plenty of other creators out there who are passionate about their curation and thoughtful with their recommendations, as I am also going to try to be here. Go to them or go where they go. And you know where that is? You know where they go? Probably the same place that I go. College radio stations and live music venues. If you're really open to what's actually on the ground out there in the world, these are 2 of the absolute best places to learn. College radio and independent music clubs are absolutely essential to refine my own tastes in the world, so saturated by content that you don't know where to look. And a world that places so little value on art and music in digital spaces. The real shit is at college radio stations and live music venues, especially independent live music venues, small time, local live music venues. Though venues are a little more novel than radio, obviously. They're more limited in the variety of the output that you'll get in a listening session. And not everyone has a venue close by. That's another thing. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, where we are extremely fortunate to have a place like the Pilot Light, which has been around for a long time and has done endless good for our local, arts and music scene here in Knoxville. Not every town has a Pilot Light, and going to a place is certainly more of a commitment than just turning on a radio. No doubt about that. But if you do have a small independent venue near you that books up-and-coming and experimental acts, thank your lucky stars and do not take that for granted. Do not take that for granted. Show up and learn, not just about new music, but about your community. Even if you feel out of place at first, that's par for the course. That's kind of par for the course of the human condition. The more you return, the more familiar it all becomes, the more comfortable it all becomes. And all you're there to do anyway really is watch music. And there is no one that's going to be unhappy that you came to their show. I promise you that. Of course, no one's going to hold it against you if you're 2 hours from the nearest city with a music venue and no one else in your immediate community cares about music the way that you do. However, I guarantee there's some young impresario you've never heard of down the street recording for hours in their bedroom, but having no idea what to do with it. Maybe they would book a set at the bowling alley if only they knew someone was open to listening. They probably have tapes or digital files or something that they would just give you if you asked. I swear this is all so much closer than people realize. Anyway, if live music is scarce near you, it's understandable, but in the internet age, college and independent radio are not in any way scarce. And if you really want to expand your aural palette, this is truly where to go. This is where a real human is more often than not pouring their blood and sweat passionately into a curated set that they really, really want you to pick up on. You're not asking an algorithm to tell you what it thinks you want to hear, but rather listening to someone else's tastes altogether and integrating them with your own. And you don't have to live by a station to hear their broadcast anymore. Do yourself a favor and download the app called Radio Garden. You can also visit it directly from your desktop. It is free. I'll put a link in the description, but through that, you can, by way of a spinning globe, access streaming radio all over the entire world. You can search by genre, location, call letters, whatever you want. And if you want some radio recommendations from me, I'm a big fan of KCOU at the University of Missouri, KRKQ or Mountain Chill in Telluride, Colorado, and KJHK at the University of Kansas. Of course, KCRW in Los Angeles is forever popular, as well as KEXP in Seattle. And here in Knoxville, our station at the University of Tennessee, WUTK, is truly stellar this year. It's a great channel. And Knoxville Community Media is also doing interesting things on their radio station, or their radio stream, which is probably also available on Radio Garden. Okay, so there are some leads I hope you will follow when I am no longer here. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes. 5 above average records you may have missed last year. These all came out in 2025. I'm going to start this list local to my own universe and move outward so that the more popular offerings are on the back end. So if you want to support the more independent artists, start at the start. And that would be with No Life by New Romantics. They are a local act in my town, as well as a solo act in the current configuration. The guy behind New Romantics is Brandon Biondo, who has been making prolific amounts of music in this town for, I guess, decades now. And his game with this project is stronger than ever. The sound of New Romantics is very much electronic and synth-based, especially on No Life, which, unlike the self-titled release, features no guitars. Despite the name New Romantics, the genre here is a little closer on the side of darkwave, kind of darkwave throwback. The writing is fresh as ever, but the sound choices are not just retro, but vintage. I don't know Biondo's process, but I am his friend on social media and in real life, and I've seen him do stuff like scrubbing MIDI samples from quarter-inch discs that he gets at estate sales or something, and I've seen him spend hours researching how to convert like half a second long sound files stuck in native formats from like 40 years ago. So, while we're on the topic of curation, his own curation of individual sounds for his works are very nuanced and dedicated. The album No Life is a good measure darker than the previous offering, though no less approachable. He has a definite sound on this project that's easy to get in your head, hard to get out. Topically, it's kind of bleak. It's in the title, it's in the art, which I think Biondo did himself. It's weird calling him Biondo because he's Brandon to me, but I want to speak of him in a professional sense, so I'm using his last name. Excellent work either way. But The album's got more of an edge than the self-titled album. Kind of a tough vibe, while the first album had kind of more of a longing feeling to it. This one is steeped in concepts of loss, obviously, and is dedicated to Mike Adams, a truly benevolent force in the Knoxville music scene who passed away in 2025. Harsh, brutal year again. That was one of the few big hits to Knoxville's cultural jaw this past year. Rest in peace, Mike. This is one of those albums that begins with a kind of fake-out track that sounds like it's just going in a different direction than the rest of the album. Those are always rare pleasures for me, like the Blur album 13 does that with the song Tender. Ween does that on the Mollusk with Dancing in the Show. In the case of No Life, the opener is the title track, No Life. And it sounds very reminiscent of Devo, far more than anything else on the album. And that lightness is kind of a bait and switch here for sure, but not an unwelcome one. The track that follows that, Low Stakes, has this really dark, driving, like open vibe that grabs you right inside the gate and is like, haha, this album is actually this, and you're coming with me, and you can't get out of the car. And it pretty much stays closer to that mode to the end. And what an end it is. The final track, Love Is Not Enough, is this atmospheric banger. It feels like an outtake from the Lost Boys movie soundtrack. And like so much of the record, it delivers this push and pull where the song feels so transcendent and conclusive. Perfect is the last song, but it never allows you to go beyond its repeated title. So it's very effective in conveying the idea that seems evident in the lyrics and in the theme of the album. The whole album is quality, as are all the albums I'm going to talk about. I'm here to open you up, not dog stuff, especially stuff that I like. But my favorite track on this one, my favorite tracks really are Low Stakes and Love Is Not Enough. If you like that era of new wave and dark wave and synth pop that shot through like the late 70s through the 90s, then I don't know, you're likely to like this. It sounds familiar, even if it's not. And I'll repeat that the self-titled New Romantics album before this is really, 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 really good too. Also, keep in mind that he actively plays shows with this project, and they are worth traveling for if he ends up near you. He really has it together on his live shows. I feel like his game is way, way up right now. So check that out. Also, hear this. As a kind of vehicle for New Romantics, and I guess just his tastes in general, Brandon Biondo curates a semi-regular concert series called Near Dark, where he brings in a lot of other artists that kind of vibe with his sound. And one that I've really enjoyed, and you should check out, a band from LA called Dildox, whose shirt I actually wear as well in this moment. This band is a two-piece featuring Sophie Alienova, if I'm saying that correctly, and Davey Shook, making music with a bit more of a goth kind of edge than New Romantics, but still sticking in the dark wave vein. Their live shows are an excellent time, and they're very forward and in your face, very musically proficient as well. They get a lot of sound out of just a two-person act. I think Davey has a lot to do with that. I think he's very masterful as the kind of backline guy, while Sophie is the one who is catching you and putting you inside the thing. As for their albums, I've got a couple of them now, but my first and favorite is Forever Post-Traumatic. These are both from 2024, I believe. The newest, though, is Bound to Submit, this one. The next 2025 album on my list is Entropy. I don't know how you hold it. I don't know how it's supposed to go. But Entropy by Elnuh. That's Elnuh. I guess it's going to be on the screen, but Entropy by Elnuh. I found out about this band by chance when I saw them share a bill with another local act that I went and saw at the Pilot Light. I don't remember what the local act was. It might have even been New Romantics, though stylistically, those acts are nowhere near each other. Anyway, Elnuh is a three-piece from San Antonio, Texas, consisting of Elena Lopez on vocals and guitar, Luke Mitchell on bass, and Daniel Puente on drums. I'm pretty sure Lopez is the chief songwriter in the band, and the songs are top-notch. I picked up the cassette at their live show. It's also available to stream in the usual places. It's a really solid release from start to finish. Music is very dreamy, kind of similar to the Baltimore band Mount Royal, if you've ever heard them. Or if you prefer, their sound is maybe somewhere between the Pixies' more reined-in tracks and Mazzy Star. Lots of dreamy builds and guitar work that's very intentional, but kind of bendy and drifty feeling. And those waves are just lightly salt and peppered with more aggressive, stabby parts that come and go very tastefully. It's very good nighttime music. And it's tough to pick a favorite from this one because it's so fluid to the point where it kind of feels like one continuous work rather than a collection of songs. I don't know if that wasn't the intention or not, but that's how it registers to me. If I had to pick, I think my favorite tracks are 9 a.m. Phone Call and BS, which they're sequenced together on the album. So if I was going to pick a third track that's a little further away from that pair, there's a lovely little waltz on the B-side called If Only. And that one's really good. It's all really good. It's great. Elnuh, Entropy. Also, hear this. While we're on the topic of female songwriters in Texas, you should also check out SOLYA. Her bio says she's from West Texas, wherever that is. She is still pretty young, but seems to be killing it right now. Her song 19, which might be her age, seems to get a decent amount of play on UT's station, WUTK, that I mentioned earlier. That's where I first encountered her, and that song is amazing. That song's maybe the best overall I've heard all year. Again, SOLYA 19. All her stuff sounds like it belongs in a David Lynch movie. It all has this kind of dreamy Western early 60s girl pop kind of thing going on. Very floaty, very rare kind of sound these days. Also, as I said, SOLYA is very young, but such a high caliber writer. Her writing is really good. So I'm curious to see what the future holds for her. She has plenty of music online you can check out, but her debut, which is called Queen of Texas, comes out March 2026, which maybe by the time I post this video, that might be out by then. It's sold out on pre-order, but check her out. Moving into some kind of more commercially recognized territory, the next 2025 album we're going to look at is Glutton for Punishment by Heartworms. My buddy Shane bought this record for me, so thank you, Shane. Anyway, this is a solo project by the English artiste Jojo Orme. It's a very driving electro post-punk kind of thing. There's nothing I can really compare it to. It's music to listen to while you're being chased through a city or something. It's like secret agent music. Very forward and out front. The single from the album is a song called Jacked, which I do like a lot, but it's really just a drop in the bucket of a much broader set of very well-rounded sounds. That and the album as a whole sounds intense and intentional. No loose ends on this one. It's a very deliberate sounding work. If I'm picking my favorites, I'll go with the album's first full track after a small intro. The song's called Just Ask to Dance. It feels like it belongs in the opening of some intense action movie or something. Like, again, The Secret Agent, like a James Bond movie. It's got lots of staccato, lots of strings that are intermingling with some really nice breaks down into these minimal but like pulsing modes that really let Orme's vocals breathe and ultimately soar. Speaking of soaring, the song Extraordinary Wings really sticks with me in this one too. The lyrics are really interesting on that one, with an outro that repeats the line, "I don't wish murder 'cause I got no right." That is one of the tamer songs, though. If I'm picking favorites but limiting it to only two, because that's a rule I totally established, then I might choose the track Warplane over that one. I don't know what the deal is with the flying motif on those, but it's a toss-up. Also, hear this. Glutton for Punishment was produced by Dan Carey. That is the same guy who produced the debut album by Wet Leg. So, sonically, they share a master. I'm not going to talk to you about Wet Leg, though, because I just did a whole video on them a few weeks back, and I think they're kind of a hard band to avoid at this point. I think Wet Leg is pretty established now, and maybe this record is already as classic as, I don't know, Appetite for Destruction. Welcome to the jungle, baby. You're gonna die. The fourth 2025 record I would like to talk about is Precipice by Indigo de Souza. She is an artist who had her comeuppance in North Carolina, right across the state line from me. She lived in Asheville until I guess Hurricane Helene displaced her, and then she headed to Los Angeles. So she seems to be killing it lately. She did a Tiny Desk concert. She was on Colbert. The world is Indigo de Souza's oyster right now. This album, Precipice, has a lot of different modes throughout it. Some kind of oft familiarity that ties it all together. Something about it just, it feels like you've heard it before, and it was comfortable when you did. There are lots of soft electronics that operate as a bed for more guitar-forward elements. The production on it reminds me of Beck's 2014 album Morning Phase. Her vocals also sound really good and clean and consistent. Like, great production work on this album. There are some nice touches of reverb that never overpower or distract, like with her voice. Like, a lot of cool vocal stuff going on here that's very subtle but present and effective. And I love her voice too. She does a lot of like tasteful warbling with her voice. Precipice is her fourth studio album and the first that I came to know. I'm behind on Indigo de Souza, but I'm learning, I'm catching up, and I'm helping you catch up too. I feel very fortunate that I've got so much distance left to run with her catalog. The first single on this one was Heartthrob, which kind of an outlier from the other songs. I feel like it's got more of a standard rock orientation, which is not a bad thing. It convinced me to buy the album, but there is so much more color and emotion on this record beyond that song. My favorite track on this one is probably Be Like the Water, which was apparently the third single, but I never heard it on the radio anywhere. The song Clean It Up is also way up there, but it's hard to pick a favorite between that one and Not Afraid, which is the first one that really got its hooks into me. I'm not quite sure how I come down between those two, but I'll default to Not Afraid because it contains my favorite lyric on the album, which is, "When you let go, the people you love are free when they're with you." That's one of several really just nice sentiments on the album. An obvious consideration that goes largely unconsidered. Like, I feel like this album cries out for warmth and love while being totally ready to deliver those things in kind. Also, I want to point out that this album cover, which is really badass, her mother, Kimberly Oberhammer is her name, does all her album covers, and I do love that style and the consistency, but between her albums. I also love that she doesn't cover up the art with words, just an open image, you know. Also, she's going on tour in March, pretty much everywhere. So see you in Nashville or Atlanta, most likely.
Also, hear this.
I said Souza was Asheville based for most of her career, and I want to take a minute to just appreciate the Asheville music scene. Two albums out of that town that I really like are Family Affair, the 2017 album by Axxa Abraxas, and Earthbow, the 2021 album by Sarah Louise. Axxa Abraxas is a project by a guy named Ben Asbury, though last I knew they were a 5-piece. That seems to change a lot, though. I picked up Family Altar on a random recommendation from one of the clerks at Voltage Records in Asheville. I think it might have been Static Age. They're too close together, so I forget. Anyway, it's got a good quintessential indie rock sound that reminds me of the mid-2000s or so. Thinner guitar and a vibe that's jangly, kind of feels like getting in a car with a bunch of people and setting off on an adventure. As for Earthbow, this is a very unique, pretty experimental album from Sarah Louise, who is pretty much royalty in the Asheville folk scene. I wouldn't call this a folk album, though. Since the pandemic, she's really gotten to more improvisational realms and less singer-songwriter. I saw her at Ayu Prana Listening Room last year, and it was just a nonstop mix of comings and goings on the stage between her and a handful of other musicians that never broke for applause. That show also kicked off with a kind of resurrection play act or ritual or whatever you want to call it. It basically involved Sarah Louise, toppling over on stage and then being revived by a group of angel-voiced sirens who brought her back with some kind of leafy branches. I think it was juniper, maybe, dipped in water before they all got in a line and braided each other's hair while singing. Hard to explain, but super affecting. One of those things that, yes, brought tears to my eyes, that I couldn't understand why. Just really feeling it. Similar to that, Earthbow is made up of long sections that all bleed together, so it's not quite clear where one ends and the other begins, especially on a vinyl record. It's got more electronics than some of her previous offerings. Night and day from the straight folk stuff she got known for. And like she does with House and Land. House and Land is her like old-timey Appalachian music project that she does with Sally Ann Morgan. It's hard to describe Earthbow really, but it's as good for a deep listen as it is for background music. Lots of nature themes with Sarah Louise too, and that is her vibe. She plays music for plants and nature and gives interviews about it that are very interesting. You should like Google Sarah Louise Asheville. She's pretty cool. And though this is definitely like non-typical for a folk record, if you can even call it that, she still carries that easygoing, crunchy vibe that Asheville used to be known for before everyone tried to get a piece, I guess. A cherished relic of another time. I'm glad she's around. I'm glad she's still doing stuff. The last album of 2025 I'm going to talk about is this album by Natalie Bergman, My Home Is Not in This World. This is one that I highly anticipated because I love her debut solo album, Mercy. It is like a top 5 for me, maybe top 3. I love that album so much that I purposefully limit my listens of it to rare occasion so that I don't accidentally burn out on it. That's how much I love the Natalie Bergman album, Mercy. That one and this one were both released on Third Man Records, and her sound is kind of hard to pin down. It's kind of like a cross-section of gospel, soul, and folk with a thin doo-wop lining. Bergman is very openly devout Christian, and this is reflected in many of her songs. Don't let that scare you. Let it free you, because it's very hard to find like praise music that is good, especially that's this good. I should note, she's also a very progressive Christian who has spoken in interviews about how non-Christian it is to shit on LGBTQ people. That's also very rare these days. I was turned on to Natalie Bergman by my dearest friend Mackenzie when Mercy was new. So thank you, Mackenzie. I bought Mercy immediately upon hearing the song Shine Your Light on Me, which is so good and does mention Jesus by name throughout it. The first single on this new album is Gunslinger, which I've actually been hearing a few times on WOT since I picked the record up. And while Gunslinger is certainly an above average offering, this record is full of them. Her writing is full of them. Her catalog is full of them. If I had to top out at two of my favorites, because again, I totally made that rule, I'd probably go with the title track, My Home Is Not in This World, and maybe the opener, Lonely Road. The title track is real loose and funky and like uses a lot of like hand drums and good 8-bit sounding erratic key solo on the bridge. I guess it's keys. I don't know. It could be a weird guitar pedal. Lonely Road leans more toward her like more throwback soul kind of mode, with really nice string arrangement running through it. That it's a great opener. It's a great album, but I'm tired of talking about it. So
Also, hear this.
psych. I've got nothing else to say. Buy these records. At least check them out. At least stream them. But buy them. Buy physical media. See these artists live. And of course,
Like and subscribe.